morning, Todd. That's right. Wisconsinites will vote tomorrow to decide control of the state's highest court. So the high-stakes Supreme Court race is smashing spending records with more than $80 million spent so far and mega donors supporting both candidates. That's liberal Judge Susan Crawford and conservative candidate Brad Schimel. Elon Musk and his America PAC have spent more than $12 million in Wisconsin to support Schimel for the vacated 7th seat. Musk spoke at a town hall in Green Bay last night, sporting a cheese head and emphasizing the race's importance. Watch this.
What's happening on Tuesday is a vote for which party controls the U.S. House of Representatives. That is why it is so significant. And whichever party controls the House, it to a significant degree controls the country, which then steers the course of Western civilization. So it's like, I feel like this is one of those things that may not seem that it's going to affect the entire destiny of humanity, but I think it will.
Musk's appearance was met with protesters who slammed him for handing out $1 million checks to voters who signed a petition against, quote, activist judges. The Wisconsin Supreme Court actually rejected a Democrat attorney general's attempt to block Musk's giveaway to voters. But Schimel says he is not influenced by anyone's financial support. Listen.
I don't control any of the spending from any outside group, whether it's Elon Musk or anyone else that has an organization spending money in this race. I've run a 72-county race in Wisconsin. I've campaigned in every county for 16 months. I'm not running for anything for Elon Musk or any other person.
Meanwhile, Florida also has two major races tomorrow. That's one to fill Matt Gaetz's vacated House seat and another to replace White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. In the 1st Congressional District, Republican Jimmy Patronis and Democrat Gay Vallimont are running to replace Gaetz. Now, Patronis is the state's chief financial officer, and he's received President Trump's endorsement. In the 6th Congressional District of Florida, Trump-backed Republican State Senator Randy Fine is facing off with Democrat Josh Weil for Mike Waltz's vacant seat. Now, GOP lawmakers have expressed some concern about the 6th district as recent polls show the race is within the margin of error, so we'll keep an eye on that.
At Stardate 42,069, I have once again declared that there are only two genders, but I have made some changes. The women who are smarter than the men can now say anything they want, but they are only limited to 280 words per day. And for the men, pee is now stored in the balls. Trump-Borg out.
The Trump ship Enterprise. Come on. Let's go. Is that what Elon's rocket to Mars is going to look like? Is this what it's going to be? Is this where we're going to go? I'm down. Would you buy a ticket on the Trump Force One Enterprise Galactica? Let's freaking go. Trump Star, Death Star. What's going on? Jerry, get me a Donald Trump as like a Star Wars Death Star. Can I get Trump's head as the Death Star, please? And then the giant laser can be coming from his eyes, his mouth, whatever, right? Maybe from his hair. Sorry, you just got me. I'm on a roll. We're on a roll this morning. We're very excited this morning. Welcome back to the program. Love the chat. Hearts out to the chat. Freaking love the chat. Today is Monday, March 31st, 2025. Last day of March. We're going to be marching into a brand new, very interesting topic this morning. We'll have some legal experts on to talk about Trump running for a 3rd term. Oh boy. Could it be? Oh yeah. Yes, actually. And President Trump is all but telling you he's about to do this. We're going to go through how Donald Trump has effectively projected out that this is what he will do. He's planning on it. He's already been posting about it. We got that all locked up for you. Election day tomorrow in the must-win Wisconsin Supreme Court seat. We'll see what happens, but we have Turning Point Actions. Chief Operations Officer will be joining us to talk the ground game that's happening right now in Wisconsin. It's going to be awesome. His name is Tyler Boyer. We'll also be joined by Wesley Hunt, Julie Kelly, and Jimmy Patronis, who's one of those candidates running to replace Matt Gaetz in Matt Gaetz's seat. He'll be on the show. These are massive races. If these races are swamped by Democrats, which is would be a very, very bad thing, then it is a bad sign of things to come. So we'll see. And ladies and gentlemen, this is your front seat to the golden era. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Listen up, everybody. This is critical. I may not get every market prediction right, or any. Don't let me do your taxes, right? You'll go right to prison. It's not what we do around here, okay? What we do around here is take safe bets, okay? I'm no fun at the casino, all right? I'm no fun doing your spreadsheets. What we are good at doing is making our bets, going gold. Obviously, we've bet on a couple of big-time political candidates, spoke at Byron Donalds' campaign launch, Donald Trump as well. Ladies and gentlemen, physical gold is what I'm talking about today. That is the rock-solid bet. Record high gold prices nearing $3,000 per ounce and above. Central banks worldwide increasing their gold reserves, and maybe Fort Knox getting audited. Where'd that go? Can we get back to that? Can we audit Fort Knox and live stream it, please? I'm not alone, ladies and gentlemen. In this belief, half of wealthy investors under the age of 43 own physical gold. I trust Advantage Gold. They've earned an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, and they know truly how to make sure that they protect your wealth. Invest today. Text Benny to 85545 right now, and they'll send you a free gold investment guide. Plus, you could qualify for $1,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase. Remember, secure your financial future starts by making informed decisions today. Text Benny to 85545 now. Data and message rates apply. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been consulting my meme professionals. What do I mean by that? President Trump is like we popularized the saying on this program that the memes predict the future. We've, on this program, created memes that effectively predict the future. This is why I'm like totally down with a Trump ship Enterprise, Starship Enterprise, giant spaceship flying around. 'Cause we're probably on our way there. But here's a post from President Trump many years ago. A meme. Most people thought it was just funny, funny meme. Donald Trump posting in 2019 this meme. It's like a 6-year-old meme. And he posted it with no comment. It got 119,000 reposts, 217,000 likes, 55,000 comments. So it went properly viral. The meme is of President Trump running forever. And we'll play it for you right now. It has some music to it, which is fun. Here's the meme. And we're going to get into what did this predict exactly? We have our classic ramp it up. Trump 2064, 72, 3,000, 4,000, 20,000. Oh my. My favorite one is the E. Klein, can you try and pause on the E? There it is. Look at Klein. Look at Killer Klein. Just like surgical. It's great. Trump was telling us what he was planning on doing. It's very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Could Trump run for a third term? Could Trump be president again? Is there a loophole? Oh, yeah, actually, there is. Now, before we get to the actual loophole, let's have a listen to President Trump being asked first couple weeks of his administration what he thinks about J.D. Vance as his successor. Now, I've regularly said on this program that J.D. Vance, according to all of my sources, which are significant because we know Don Jr. and we know Tucker, and we used to work for Tucker, and all these guys in like the J.D. Vance orbit, right? Like, I'm not on any signal chats with them just yet that haven't been already deleted. But that J.D. Vance is the first guy the first vice president to have ever been selected as the heir to camp. Like he wasn't selected because of his genitalia. He wasn't selected because of his race. He wasn't selected to tick a box. He wasn't selected like the way George H.W. Bush was selected as assassination insurance for the CIA for Ronald Reagan. George H.W. Bush, the CIA director. Don't ask where he was during the JFK assassination. Don't ask where George H.W. Bush was during JFK's assassination. Oh my gosh, we have breaking news on that as well. Apparently Oswald was like in the car with JFK, he's just riding in the trunk. Too much to get to. But Donald Trump has selected J.D. Vance as a torch carrier for the MAGA movement. You can see this, obviously. And that's why we're really proud of actually the leaks from J.D. Vance and the Signal chat, because it's it's J.D. Vance behaving as Trump. You read the messages from J.D. Vance, you're like, yo, that's Trump talking there. This is Donald Trump. So yeah, J.D. Vance is out behaving almost more Trumpian than Donald Trump. Like preparing for a durable America First movement, because it's not actually a movement if we only elect it one time or then one other time, and then it gets destroyed by the system. So that is what has been messaged to me as this is Donald Trump's selection for J.D. Vance as the man to carry forward the MAGA torch into the future. J.D. Vance can then run all the way into the late 2030s, right? You could have President J.D. Vance all the way up to 2036, okay? That'd be pretty awesome. Here's Donald Trump when asked, will J.D. Vance be your chosen successor? And it's a very interesting answer. Here we go.
Do you view Vice President J.D. Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No, but he's very capable. I mean, I don't think that I think you have a lot of very capable people. So far, I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's too early. We're just starting.
But by the time you get to the midterms, he's going to be looking for an endorsement.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that this has been the greatest opening, almost 3 weeks, in the history of the presidency.
It's definitely been the fastest and the most stuff
Well,
happening.
we've done so much so fast, and we really had to, because they have really, what they've done to our country is so sad. It's so sad. We're going to be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
So J.D. Vance is not the successor. Trump goes immediately no. Now, there's two reasons to do this. Donald Trump saying no because there are people who have very big egos in politics and who are desirous of higher office always. We've dealt with a lot of Trump's cabinet, right? You can see it in their eye. They want to go on to bigger and better things. They want to go on and potentially run for president, governor, other positions. It's how it is. It's the game. It's the game. All right. It's human nature, actually. In fact. But I thought it was very interesting. Trump saying no, just right off the dome. Then President Trump this weekend says something quite unique to NBC. Trump talks to NBC and goes, "Oh, I'm not joking at all about this whole running for a third term thing." Huh? Trump says he's not joking about third term, notes that it's apparent loophole. There are methods, says President Trump. What? Let's read. President Trump says he's not joking about serving a third term of the White House and thinks there's loopholes to make it happen. Trump 78 told NBC's Kristen Welker on Sunday morning phone call that there's a lot of people who want me to do it, meaning run again for a third term. Trump claimed that there are methods of which you could do it, including J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance, run for president with Trump as his vice president. Vance would then resign and allow Trump to regain the job. There are others too, Trump said without elaboration. In 1951, the 22nd Amendment ratified the Constitution, saying no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, allowing for a potential loophole for Vance to resign in Trump's favor. So Donald Trump didn't have to be elected twice. I mean, basically, we have a long way to go, So it's very early in the administration. I'm focused on the current, the president said. Trump explained that he's interested in serving as president until 2033 because I like working. I'm not joking, the billionaire developer and former reality TV star told Welker. But I'm not. It is too early to think about it. Trump has repeatedly mentioned a third term, though the initial idea was perceived as a way to troll Democrats to avoid being perceived as a term-limited lame duck, which would sap his influence as politicians and court potential successors. Trump explained he's interested in serving as president until 2033 because I like working. Sorry, correction. Let me jump down here. The president has been greeted at several, it's a great quote though, it's worth saying twice. The president has been greeted at recent public events with chance of 4 more years. Franklin Roosevelt is the only American president elected to more than 2 terms, dying 3 months into his 4th term. Presidents traditionally served just 2 terms, following George Washington's example, until FDR presidency, which prompted the Constitution to be amended. Trump's the second president in U.S. history to serve non-consecutive terms. He would be nearing the age of 87 at the end of his hypothetical term. Look at that photo of him and JD. Bro doesn't age. Bro doesn't age, okay? Donald Trump looks like a ripened orange, like a ripe peach. Donald Trump, ain't aging. So it's totally different. They're different 87-year-olds. Joe Biden looks like a discarded prop from the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney. Donald Trump has more energy than me, that's for sure. after a weekend with like house guests and like a kid staying at our house, like I'm cooked. All right, I'm done. So this is how Trump could potentially do this. Who's advising Trump on this? Well, Steve Bannon actually. Here's Steve Bannon talking about a Trump third term and what they're planning on doing. Here we go.
Firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky. We've got him now. He's on fire, and I'm a huge supporter. Want to see him again in 2028.
And obviously, anybody who doesn't like what you say but judges it as a function of a lack of intelligence doesn't know anything about you. I don't make that mistake. You're a smart guy. You know he's term limited. How do you think he gets another term?
We're working on it. I think we'll have a couple of alternatives. Let's say that. We'll see. We'll see what the definition. We'll see what the definition of term. We'll see what the definition of term limit is.
All right. Well, so you're talking about litigating this issue, because I don't want people to listen to our interview and say Bannon's cooking up an insurrection. Bannon is cooking up. You know what I mean? I want people to get a straight take on where your head is. What are you suggesting?
Chris, as you know, I've had greater long shots than this. When we supported President Trump after the election, I realize you don't believe the election in 2020 was stolen. We do. We fervently believe that.
Andy Ogles is a member of Congress. He's out proposing an amendment to the 22nd Amendment to allow Trump to serve as a third term. So there's another way to skin this cat. Congressman Andy Ogles introduced a House joint resolution to amend the Constitution of the United States to allow the president elected for up to, but no more than 3 terms. The language of the proposed amendment. So Donald Trump was just run at the top of the ticket again. Here's the new proposed amendment. This is on the floor of the House right now. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than 3 times, be elected by any additional term after being elected 2 consecutive terms. And no person who's held the office of the president, acted as president, for more than 2 terms. Other people elected the president shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. Okay, so the consecutive thing is what bothers, I think, a lot of people. President Trump in 2020 clearly had the election rigged against him, obviously. But I would portend, humbly, that if you speak to anybody who worked in President Trump's first administration, that he also has had his first term stolen from him. Russiagate was a pall that cast a black cloud over the entire administration. You can get anything done. As was described to me by a very high-up Trump White House advisor who worked day to day with the president, that like if you were to order, Russiagate was so bad that if you were to order Russian dressing on your salad or a Russian vodka and a martini after work, that you'd expect to be indicted and put in prison. It effectively handcuffed Trump's first term. So Trump's first term was technically stolen from him as well as his second. So if there's ever a man, I would argue, who deserves to have another term, it would be Donald Trump. Now, you could do the constitutional amendment way. You could do the President Trump running as vice president with J.D. Vance way, which would be quite unique and very, very interesting. Or you go about it different ways that President Trump isn't alluding to, but isn't exactly enumerating right now. President Trump speaking about this on Air Force One. Let's go.
You said you were not joking about a third term, about possibly wanting a third term. Does that mean you're not planning to leave office on January 20th?
I'm not looking at that, but I'll tell you, I have had more people ask me to have a third term, which is, in a way, it's a 4th term, because the other election, the 2020 election was totally rigged. So it's sort of a 4th term in a certain way. I just don't want the credit for the second, because Biden was so bad, he did such a bad job. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm popular, if you want to know the truth. I think I'm popular because we've done a great job. I think we've had the best almost 100 days of any president. And most people are saying that. And it's an honor. We're bringing back our country. We're respected as a country again. And we're strongly respected. And people are amazed. I was with some very important people today, and they said that they've never seen a turnaround of the country as fast as this. Even look at our border. We have nobody coming in. And you can't come into our country, but you have to come in legally. But we have nobody coming in. to our country. It's almost shut down. They've never seen anything like this.
At an appropriate precedent limits a president to 2 terms. Is it your understanding that they have to
I don't
be?
even want to talk about it. I'm just telling you, I have had more people say, please run again. They said, we have a long way to go before we even think about that. But I've had a lot of people. Yeah, go ahead. Did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you think that's an appropriate precedent to set, even if it wasn't you in this position, to see a president serve a 3rd term?
I don't want to talk about a 3rd term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go. We have a long time. You know, we have almost 4 years to go. And that's a long time. But despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again. They love the job we're doing. Most importantly, they love the job we're doing.
I don't want to talk about it. Trump proceeds to talk about it for 3 minutes. So it's perfect. It's classic Trump. It's perfect. It's perfect. It could be done. It could be done through constitutional amendment. It could be done through President Trump just running as vice president for the rest of his life on every Republican ticket. I mean, make an argument right now that there's a Republican Party without Trump. President Trump is in complete and total, Patriots in control. And also, more importantly, the experts are now chiming in. And the experts are saying, hold on. If everyone like freaking out about this, please hold your horses. Everyone stay calm. Yes, it can happen. The experts screaming on CNN. Yeah, this is going to happen. Watch.
Welcome to this game of constitutional twister. So people do focus on that word elected. Now, people who believe that the 22nd Amendment means you cannot serve as president a 3rd time point to the 12th Amendment. And the 12th Amendment tells us that anyone who's ineligible to be president cannot run for vice president, right? Because the end run around the 22nd Amendment is, okay, let's take Donald Trump, for example. He can't be re-elected president, but he could maybe run for vice president. Whoever runs for president could then resign, and then Donald Trump could become president without being elected. Again, though, you have to look back at the 12th Amendment, which says anyone who can't serve as president cannot even run for vice president. So that's the common response to this 22nd Amendment argument.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 22nd and 12th, which might be in conflict. And there are people who say the 12th Amendment doesn't necessarily mean that you can't enter the race. It's something the Supreme Court would have to decide. And it's literally the scenario that President Trump was asked about yesterday. He was asked, could you be J.D. Vance's running mate in, 2028 and then Vance drop out? And his response was basically, that's one way and there are others. What other ways, Ellie?
Well, the most direct way would be to actually amend the Constitution, which we can do. We've done it 27 times, not since 1992, I should note. So it's been 33 years since we've amended the Constitution, but it happens. The way that would have to happen, and it's obviously not plausible in our current political environment, but you would need 2/3 of a vote of the House of Representatives, 2/3 of a vote of the Senate, and then 3/4 of the states would have to ratify the amendment. There's a close to 0.0% chance that any of those 3 scenarios would happen, but in theory, the Constitution is a living, breathing, evolving document. It could be amended if there was enough political will. It's not there, but it's in theory possible.
It's possible, in theory. And they're freaking out about it. MSNBC is losing their minds. You just got to play like off the top of this clip. MSNBC losing their minds over this. And by the way, let's make this Assault That Lib. Guys, we haven't done Assault That Lib in so long. I'm sorry. We've been busy around here. Like, what's going on? What's going on, ALX? Everyone yell at ALX in the chat. Everyone yell at ALX in the chat. ALX, get yourself a sense of humor, okay? Watching too many Elon Musk live streams. We're going to get to that in just a second. Salt these libs, please, on MSNBC, because they are having a panic attack about this. On MSNBC, they're saying, yeah, this is actually like, we should take Trump serious. The takeaway here is take Trump serious about this. Trump's using this as a potential distraction. He's jangling the keys, and all of it's working, right? So whether Trump's using it as just a distraction mechanism, or if he like definitely means it, it's just the cat with the laser pointer. Mew, 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 mew. So it totally works, right? And what's the laser pointer shine on this show? Our salty salt for the libs. If you're new here, what we do is we pour salt into the comment section and put your comments on screen. Let's salt these libs.
Believe him. I think the biggest mistake of the last 8 years is we somehow fail to give credibility to Donald Trump's whims and his impulses, but we know it's true. And January 6th was a perfect example. If he says that he's not ruling it out, he's not ruling it out, and we should consider it a constitutional threat.
Okay. Susan?
He's been pushing the envelope on testing the Constitution, so I expect, that he'll continue to do that, maybe by seeking out a third term. But more importantly, short term, we're not talking about Signal and that scandal if we are talking about Trump's third term.
Don?
Yeah, I think both of them are exactly right. Steve Bannon was on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day laying out the very groundling seeds of how it's going to go down. And he said, listen, we are working on it. And by we, I mean the same people who work at the Heritage Foundation and these other well-funded, well-organized think tanks who are laying together the groundwork for things that actually come to pass. And the mainstream media and all of us on the left kind of blow it off as silly or improbable or unconstitutional. That doesn't matter to these folks. And I think you should take a third term or an effort at a third term as a legitimate campaign promise at this point.
Okay. More salt on the show. Thank you for all the salt. The comment section just flowing with salt. We're going to do one per show. Alex, we're doing one Salt That Lib per show. Klein, hold us to it. All right? We're going to lock in this. We're going to keep the salt flowing on this program. It's been a rip-roaring first couple months. Man, we have been... what Trump's doing is very, very impressive. It's been obviously burning rubber, and we're just trying our hardest to cover all of it. It does mean that we literally just work 7 days a week and never stop. We're going to have somebody on the program soon who has never stopped working. It's going to be the head of Turning Point Action, who is running the ground game right now in Wisconsin for this must-win Supreme Court vote. It's very, very big. Ladies and gentlemen, you should win when it comes to ensuring that you are out of debt and ensuring that you have solid financial footing. I don't know your exact financial situation, but if you're like thousands of homeowners and American Financing talks to you every single month, you're struggling to keep up, drowning in high-interest debt. It's not your fault. Life got more expensive, and inflation hit very, very hard over the last 4 years. It's something we voted out. We rejected it. But now it's time for you to get out of your debt, potentially 20% interest rates, while your mortgage sits untouched. Tap into that mortgage, do a 10-minute short phone call, and potentially save $800 every single month with American Financing. It's exactly what homeowners are doing all across America. Simple, no-obligation call could change everything. They have a team of salary-based mortgage consultants. There isn't any incentive to put you into a loan that doesn't make any sense. There's no upfront fees. There's no limit to how much you can save. Call American Financing today and start feeling that relief. 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219, AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. Okay, so you could do American Financing, or you could just go to an Elon Musk event and get $1 million check. Elon Musk hands out $1 million checks to voters after Wisconsin Supreme Court declined to intervene. Oh my. Elon Musk walking out with a cheese hat yesterday in Wisconsin. We don't deserve him. Elon Musk is either going to be with the golden chainsaw. What other outfits has he worn? I mean, we were there in Butler where Elon Musk... Klein, show the cheese hat, please. You got to look at this. This is great. This is richest man in the world, right? It's the richest man in the world. And there's something that there's something that I think is particularly important here that is shocking, and clearly the biggest news clip out of Elon Musk's appearance yesterday in Wisconsin, and something that it's going to dovetail into why this election is so important. The Social Security numbers and the payments to non-citizens. So Doge has discovered rock solid proof of Democrats not only rigging our elections, rigging our welfare systems in America to ensure that criminal aliens can stay here and get paid to stay here and then vote, because if you have a Social Security number, you can vote. And this is a guarantor of election fraud, mass election fraud. They've discovered millions of criminal aliens on the voter rolls. Here we go.
What this is when you come in the country, if you're an illegal, there's a couple ways to come in. You come in through a port of entry, and you can tell them you're afraid, and they'll give you an asylum case. You'll get an interview, then you get in. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just go to the border. Literally, this happened. I talked to Border Patrol myself. Elon was there too. I went to Laredo, and I went to Bronzeville. Elon went to Eagle Pass. You walk up to a Border Patrol officer, and you tell them you want to come in. They have a couple of choices. They could charge you with a misdemeanor or a felony under 1325, or they can make it an administrative offense, like a parking ticket, basically. They were told to do that, make it an administrative offense under the last administration. And then you go walk across the border, they do what's called a release on your own recognizance, and they give you an NTA, notice to appear, which to appear to judge. The wait times on judges are like average 6 years. Look at Grok, you'll see it on immigration judges. There's only 700 of them. This is 5.5 million people, okay? So what happens then? Once you're in the country and you got asylum through one of these pathways, and we map the whole thing out, you can apply for a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization, and then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep, no. They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a...
Okay. This is clear mass election fraud, mass voter fraud. And they worked on a system in order to ensure that you wouldn't be able to find it ever because everyone has a Social Security number, right? Even though they're a criminal alien. Something that they swore wasn't happening. This broke the internet yesterday. Millions upon millions of criminal aliens on Social Security, including people on Social Security that are 300 years old and remember the American Revolution. Elon Musk, final short clip here, explaining why he's in Wisconsin and why this election matters so much.
Let me finish by saying, obviously, yeah, those at the state level will be cool. But just remember, the importance of the election on Tuesday is gigantic. It could decide the future of the House of Representatives. It could decide then the future of America and the future of the world. So it's absolutely critical that you need to just drag friends and family to vote on Tuesday for Justice Schimmel and for voter ID. So, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Gentlemen, joining us now, Tyler Boyer, the Chief Operations Officer of Turning Point Action, who is on the ground right now in Wisconsin. Tyler, what up, G?
How we doing, Benny? It's good to see you, my man.
Good to see you. Been too long. You've been busy, and you're very, very busy. Today, the last day before the election in Wisconsin. Now, this is we've been talking about this, and Scott Pressler's been on the program. We've been doing our very best to try and cover it, but I don't think people properly understand what's at stake here and the table, how it is set. So can you elucidate for us exactly what is the risk factor for Republicans on the ground in Wisconsin?
Yeah, Benny, we've been focused on this even prior to the presidential election for many, many months now, going on almost 2 years, focused on, we knew we had to win Wisconsin and the presidential specifically to get everyone engaged for this race. The Supreme Court, and not every state has an election for Supreme Court. Some states appoint Supreme Court justices, but just like the federal level Supreme Court, you have a Supreme Court at the state level. These are the folks that get to decide whether to keep or throw out bad laws, which we've seen a lot of bad laws come down the pike, specifically behind the blue wall. So Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, as everybody knows, the left needs all three states in order to win the presidency, basically for the next 20 years. And so for us, we're focused on this race because they can do a couple of things. One, they can institute really bad election laws in Wisconsin. They can throw out good ones like voter ID, which is on the ballot right now here in Wisconsin. But then they also can do things like redistrict. And this is something that most average Americans, they think everyone just plays by the rules. The left doesn't play by any rules. They spend all of their time trying to remanipulate, reconfigure how elections work. And the one thing that they've attacked basically since the Obama era, and this didn't happen prior to Obama, but it's happened since, is reconfiguring every map in every state to get an advantage. And in Wisconsin, they just did this. So it's not maybe they'll do this. Oh, that's far-fetched. They just did this at the state legislative level. which basically because the maps were too red, it was too good for Republicans. And so, the Republicans here just leaned over and took it, and they redistricted, but their dream is to redistrict again for congressional maps. That's only supposed to happen once every 10 years. But if you have a wild and wacky and liberal lunatic Supreme Court, like what they want to have here for a long time in Wisconsin, they can do that on a whim. And that's what they promised to do.
So very rare, Tyler, that you're on our program agreeing with Hakeem Jeffries. Here's Hakeem Jeffries straight up saying, yeah, absolutely, a victory in Wisconsin will lead to a better map for Democrats. They're admitting it here. And I guess it's, on some level, I guess it's nice when they admit what they're trying to do. So they're just trying to rig an election in Wisconsin.
We should rename him Hakeem Gerrymandering, because that's all he wants to do. And this isn't unique to him, right? Gerrymander Jeffries wants to do this because that's the only chance that he has in becoming speaker. Yes. And so this is what we're up against now, is these states where we're allowing, and Wisconsin is not a left-leaning state. It's a right-leaning state that the left has poured tens of millions of dollars into for every election, hundreds of millions of dollars into every election. And our side has just been like, oh, well, I hope everyone shows up. And that's the difference.
I hope both teams have a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope everybody, all fair. We'll have orange slices afterwards and drink, Capri Suns, and do all that. That's how elections used to work prior to Obama. In the post-Obama world, we're now in this cutthroat. The left is sinking hundreds of millions of dollars into Supreme Court races, while our side is like, well, cross our fingers. So we realized this a few years ago, and that's why we established at Turning Point Action the largest ground force that's existed here in Wisconsin. It needs to be a lot more. There needs to be 50 organizations doing what we're doing. But we've got hundreds of full-time staff that are on the ground right now, out talking, knocking doors, chasing votes, preparing to cure votes, because you only have 1 day to cure or fix ballots on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. And then in addition to that, we have hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, thousands across the country that are going into the Turning Point Action application, and they're contacting voters. They're doing the same on Scott Pressler's early vote action application. You can go to tpaction.com/app and download it. And in the top left-hand corner, you tap the arrows and you can get right in and make calls or start sending text messages to Supreme Court right away. So if you go in actually on our X handle, it should say right at the top, should have the links to our application. You just go right in, download the app, tpaction.com/app, and you can get going and help us out.
Listen, I do my best, Tyler, not to live in a bubble. Libs are so atrocious at social media. It's hard to actually follow these accounts. And I'm not like a professional gooner like Harry Sisson, so I'm just not into that kind of stuff. But if you are locked in online, you'll see Elon doing packed rallies. We just showed a video of Turning Point Action doing a rally with Don Jr. and Charlie there. It was wall to wall, standing room only. Yep. Seems like there's a ton of energy behind this and more focus than I've ever seen on our side. Yet the polling, at least according to the betting markets, show that the liberal has a decisive advantage. Why is that? And is that is that like a Kamala Harris style poll where it is a mirage? Your take on the state of the race?
Well, remember, the left had, the betting markets have always perceivably been good for the left, mainly because of the amount of money that they spend in these places. So if you're in Wisconsin, you're seeing on TV, a significant advantage that the left has spent way more money to be on TV and do all of that. But you're right, Benny. We have all the energy. We have all the wind behind our backs from this last election. We just won every swing state in America. And it was because of this type of effort, which is everybody bringing focus to and saying, no, we're not going to allow everyone just to be like, oh, no, all's fair, shake hands after. No, we're saying everybody has to focus on these highly critical elections, particularly in places that are swing states. And Elon said something that's really interesting yesterday at his rally in Green Bay, is he said that their team has deciphered, they believe that they're about 100,000 votes down. 100,000 votes down and early voting actually puts us right in the place here on election day to win this thing. That means we have a fighting chance. Our team has, on the models that we put together, we believe we're about 45,000 votes down. So whether you are somewhere where we're at or to where Elon's at, about 100 or a little over 100,000 votes, that's in winning position as long as people show up to vote tomorrow. Now, the difference with these types of elections versus presidential and how we look at this is what we call a low turnout election. People mostly are not like super passionate about the guy that they don't really know, versus like Trump, right? In the presidential. And so there's still a pretty high turnout. Last time, you have a couple million people who basically get engaged and turn out. We're probably expecting a little bit higher turnout based off of the early vote numbers. And all it takes is for Trump supporters to show up and we win. Trump supporters to show up. And this is the big deal, and particularly for the audience here, the left has attacked men so much. They do not want men to show up to this election. They do not want any male, because they know males right now are trending so heavily towards conservative policies. They're the ones that men stepping up and actually turning out to vote in last November are what won it for President Trump in these swing states. That was the difference between 2020 and 2024. These elections, these small elections, we cannot let our men, our fellow men, take it for granted that this is something that is so critical to the future of their state, their community, our country. And so, obviously we want everyone to vote, but men sitting at home is not going to help. So you got to take off work. Work has to give you time off to go vote tomorrow. You got to do it. If you know anyone at all that lives in the state of Wisconsin, don't say, oh, they know about it. Text them, call them tonight, get on the Turning Point Action application, make 5 to 10 texts or calls today. That's how you can help.
Just want to put up one final map here, Tyler. And I've wanted to get your take on this. And of course, everybody needs to do exactly what Tyler's talking about right now. No voter ID, man. I mean, it is crazy.
Yep.
It is wild. Now, Donald Trump signed an executive order. I know this is sort of zooming out, but he signed an executive order for a national voter ID and for paper ballots and so on. Obviously, this is a winning issue. It's only 15% of the country says there should be no voter ID. This is insane. How do we bully Republicans into finally having a set of balls and passing national voter ID? Because it does have to be passed from federal level. This is not like something that you should leave to an EO.
Yeah, voter ID, and then Benny, on top of that too, is a citizenship check requirement, right? Which is really hand in hand with that. And this is how they're getting away with it. These loopholes that are happening, in places like New York City and San Francisco, and they're harboring illegals in many of these cities. Denver is awful for this. You have places in America that you have literally tens of thousands of illegal votes being cast because they're not being cast by true citizens. And the important part that people need to understand is this influences everything. So even though they may not be able to get a federal ballot, because that's the argument the left makes, it's like, oh, well, we're not giving them a federal ballot, we're giving them a local ballot. How do you think these people become candidates? I don't want a candidate who represents illegal interests or international or globalist interests in my cities and communities, becoming a congresswoman. And that's what we've seen, happen in Minnesota, for example. We have, these individuals who are interested more in the constituencies that are not American citizens in some of these cases than the actual American citizens. And so we have to pass a national voter ID. We have to pass a check on citizenship. There has to be real repercussions if you try to vote. I'm not talking about even voting. Voting, of course, you should go to prison for life. You should just be kicked out of this country, sent to Guantanamo Bay if you try to vote and you're not a citizen. But even attempting to do that should be, we should come down hard on those people. And that's not happening anywhere in the country right now. There are no states that come down hard on anyone for even attempting to vote as an illegal or cast an illegal ballot.
Yeah, I like Guantanamo Bay or a prison in El Salvador or whatever. Like your punishment should be Kristi Noem stands in front of you with a Rolex, right, and films content, and that should be that's your punishment, right? Or you have to Snapchat Harry Sisson all day. That's your punishment. That's it. That's what should happen to these people.
It's half days hard labor in Greenland And the other half is having to talk to Harry Sisson for 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. Deport straight to living with Rosie O'Donnell in Ireland, right? That's right. That's your punishment.
You have to wear wet boots for 2 straight years while doing hard labor and having to listen on headphones to Harry Sisson talk to you the entire time. That's what it should be. No, I think this we should be starting to institute, like make the libs have to live with all of the cruel and unusual punishment that we've had to deal with online for the last 5 years. So I totally agree. But this is the most critical election, and I'm telling you, and this is the important part, Benny. The left has actually operated for many years. There's a lady named Barbara Fried. You might know Sam Bankman-Fried. We know Sam Bankman-Fried.
Oh, yes.
The illustrious criminal who's now serving hard time for basically funneling so much money to the left. His mom is the lady that basically is the point guard. She's the one spot for all leftists. She runs an organization called Mind the Gap. She is a very respected professor at Stanford, not by us, but she's a professor emerita at Stanford Law School, as it says right there. And she basically dictates to the entire leftist movement on how to maximize votes. And so what they do is they triple dip, they quadruple dip. They don't spend money on stupid stuff. What they do is they go into a key target state like Wisconsin, and they say it makes tons of sense to spend hundreds of millions of dollars here on a Supreme Court race because that's going to help us win a presidential. That's going to help us win Congress. That's going to help us win. Wisconsin is a dream. Why? You've got a governor's election coming up. We have Senate elections that are hanging the balance. I mean, they barely were able to manipulate the election to win this thing last time against Eric Hovde. You've got the presidential that they depend on for this. You've got all of these things that are happening in Wisconsin. It makes tons of sense to spend money. The Republican Party doesn't look at it the same way. And that's where we've come in. And so we've said, no, we're going to keep grabbing the collar of the RNC, of the NRCC, the NRSC, all the other organizations and say, you've got to focus on this because this is where you basically whack every mole at the same time.
Man, it is really a game of whack-a-mole. We didn't even get into what Eric Holder and Barack Obama are doing soon every single state on civil rights grounds, right? How they redistrict. What an operation. Tyler, thank you for being on the program. Everybody go follow Tyler. Obviously, 220,000 Americans already do. But lock in and make sure that you are supporting the people that actually take this stuff seriously, that aren't frauds, and that are here to win. And also, more importantly, like bare-knuckle brawl barroom fight, which is what Turning Point Action does. They're the actual, like, put on the brass knuckles, no more silk stocking Republican garbage, no more tee-hee-heeing with our martinis. Like, they chug a light beer, a Wisconsin light beer, and then they crack skulls. And so get in there, support Tyler and his team. Godspeed, Tyler.
Thanks, Benny. Appreciate you.
Speaking of cracking skulls, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever heard of a rock star, freedom fighter, blonde, who fights back against the permanent state, who's also a skull cracker and one of the most feared women in the entire world? You may think that I'm talking about Julie Kelly, but I'm actually talking about Marie Le Pen. Actually, we're going to talk about both in this next segment because the same thing that they tried to pull on President Trump, they've just accomplished in France, as France's conservative pro-freedom leader, Marie Le Pen, has been imprisoned and then barred from seeking office. Oh yeah, they're pulling the same tactics. They're trying to run this game. It's time to put our foot down, among many other things. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Julie Kelly live. Am I gonna get it for comparing you to Marine Le Pen?
No, not at all. Although I was laughing that you said blonde because I posted on X how this is pre-root touch-up day. So I'm a little bit less blonde than normal, but I promise next time I will be fully fakely blonde.
Okay, not a requirement for the show, Julie.
I know.
All that's required is that you bring your absolute force of will to a topic like this that is the number one trending topic in the world right now. They accomplished what they tried to do against President Trump. They were successful in weaker nations. In France, I just want to get off the top, like, your take on this news.
I mean, just looking at this now, but this is what they are doing in alleged, democracies now, trying to imprison, especially conservatives, politicians on the right, throw them in jail, prevent them specifically here from being able to run for office. Now, that's exactly what they did here, right? With the 14th Amendment, saying that because allegedly Donald Trump participated in a so-called insurrection, that he should be prevented from holding public office. So this is precisely what the left, the organized left, Marxists across the country, especially in alleged democracies, are doing. And, this is very, very dangerous territory that we're entering, especially a country like France. And this is going to be repeated. And it really, you have to argue, started here.
It is terrifying because what it shows you is that they're undeterred by President Trump's victory. They've done this in other countries, right? They're trying to do this in England. They've done it in Brazil. This is where it's all going, right? Like, and I think, really makes me so angry. Mike Benn said something to this effect this morning, where this is the single, if you actually care, if you cared about democracy, this is the single worst thing you could ever do.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it's going to do is going to push everyone to authoritarianism. Because people would prefer that to fake democracy. That is clearly a sham and rigged system for one single small group of elites that benefit from all of it. And luckily, we were able to get a referendum on that in 2024 in this country. That was pretty resounding. But this is gonna destroy entire like it's gonna destroy the system, the functional system of government. Actually, by the more that they pull this operation, we know that it's structural. We know that they've been planning this. This is the goal, and they tried to do it to Trump. They just weren't successful. It's really it's a dire time. It's worth noting.
It really is. It really is. And I'm glad to hear you, make the comparison and others to what happened to President Trump. Had he not won the election, Benny, where the end of March, he would be on trial in Washington, D.C. on Jack Smith's J6 case, facing jurors from a city that had voted for Kamala Harris 92%, and very likely, of course, he would have been convicted by this DC jury. You would have had Judge Tanya Chutkin, who did everything she possibly could to act as a rubber stamp for the Biden DOJ and special counsel Jack Smith. So this is what would have happened to Donald Trump and to the country had he not won the election. They would have really pushed ahead with that 4-count indictment and putting him behind bars so he could never try to run again. And also the other goal of crushing the MAGA movement, which was, of course, a key objective in all of the lawfare against the president.
I want to move on, but it has to be stated: if we don't win, if we don't continue to win, and we have a very good path going forward, Democrats are going to lose a ton of electoral college votes. The entire cultural shift is against them, but they will put Trump in prison again. They will try. If Trump, if we lose in 2028, Trump's going right back to jail, right? That's the goal. Am I wrong on that? Do you agree with that?
Well, they definitely will try to, if a Democrat wins next time in 2028, they definitely will try to concoct new criminal charges against the president. Now, keep in mind, I do recall there's been so much that has happened. The J6 indictment was dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can bring it back, bring that. Now, they won't be able to because it was already mostly gutted by the Supreme Court by the time Jack Smith tried to reconfigure it and advance that case forward before the election. So, but we've seen this, and we know it'll be Donald Trump. It will be JD Vance. It will be members of his cabinet. They will go back to this whole Signal Gate controversy. They're already trying. They're keeping records here, right? They're taking notes about in the opportunity or the scenario where, of course, Donald Trump leaves office in 2029 and a Democrat takes over, what that means in restarting this lawfare, accelerating it, and finally get what they are desperate to do, which is throw Donald Trump in prison and others who have supported him.
I think that just kind of dovetails really nicely into like the special elections that are going to happen in Florida. We'll have some of the candidates actually on the show later in the show, but also what Tyler's doing and Turning Point Action and Elon in Wisconsin. Like, it's not time to like sit back and say, we won, right? And get fat and happy over that. Like, it's not. The only way, I tell you what, I'm really glad I don't live close to Julie Kelly, because I would be getting very fat with her cooking. I watch her cooking. It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe the ribeye that you had yesterday. That's freaking awesome. Oh my gosh.
And I'm sorry I did not post pictures of it before we ate it.
Yeah, what's going on with that? You can't do that. You have to
I know. I post it, and then, we go somewhere, and then the family's here and friends, and then you're having some wine, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to post like the finished product. It looked a lot better than just the raw prime rib. It was fabulous, by the way. And I want to say, I kept it at 225 for 4 hours. So that's the basis of the reverse sear. Back in the old days, you blasted it and then turned it down. But now Chef Gruel, of course, our friend, has said, keep it at this low temperature and then blast it. But we were gone for the whole afternoon with friends watching sports, and I left it at 225 for like 4 hours, and it was absolutely divine. So next time, I promise I'll post pictures. Try to remember.
Chef Gruel is an absolute legend. They should put him in charge of all school lunches. Let's just be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to your X feed. So that's one piece of dead meat on your X feed. Here's another. How do you like that one? How do you like that one, Julie? We do this professionally. This is quite a statement this morning about what's potentially up against at the FBI, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, and the breathtaking brick wall that they will be running into when they get to the business of potential declassification. I'm just going to read the top line here. Transparency appears to mean the dirty operatives inside and outside the FBI who are still hiding records and info that we want, people demanding outcomes right now, truly have no grasp of how deep the corruption is with 37,000 employee agency, 56 field offices, entrenched, uncooperative bureaucracy. Keep in mind, every field office was involved in the prosecution of J6ers. Do you think Chris Wray would just leave J6 related records on his desk, like for the pipe bomber? I think that there has been a deeply unrealistic expectation about what can be done, like and some huge mistakes that were potentially made in messaging for what can be done, like the first couple days. Obviously, you end by saying if we don't have anything in a year, then it's time to bitch. But right now we have to like grind through the process. Tell me about that process, Julie.
Well, I can only imagine what DOJ, Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Emil Bove at DOJ, the top three, and then of course Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are finding out about the DOJ and the FBI. Of course, the FBI is under the Department of Justice. I can only imagine as I put there, the depth of the corruption, the criminality, the depravity of the people who are not just in charge of the FBI over the past decade, but how this permeated all 56 field offices. And we had to look no further than the J6 prosecutions, which Chris Wray routinely bragged involved all 56 field offices. So this is so pervasive. And imagine what Christopher Wray and the heads of these FBI field offices, for example, that James Dennehy, who we saw strutting out of the New York field office after being forced to resign. He had bagpipers playing. He had weeping. It was like the Beatles, right? Or Elvis Presley. Like that's how he was treated. Those are the sort of people who have been running the FBI for over a decade at least. So imagine what they have discovered. We can only predict the entrenched bureaucracy that is still trying to withhold documents, withhold records, not disclose what they know to leadership. And this is on all levels. And Benny, I do think you're right. There was the expectations are unrealistic. Some of that was created by the Trump administration themselves. This is going to be mind-blowing what they come up with. And in terms of people, I want the Epstein files. And then we've seen other people, I think, make accusations that are not exactly founded, or we don't know, in terms of destroying evidence in the Epstein files. We don't know that that's true. If it is, that requires a lot of investigation, a lot of evidence. You have to interview people. You have to create a case, bring together an indictment, and try to get an indictment from a grand jury in Washington, D.C., very likely. So this is an enormous challenge. And I think for people to say, well, where are the arrests? Where are the charges? We want people in handcuffs. It just does not belie a sincere grasp of the challenge ahead, and then the process that they have to follow to make that actually happen.
There's one thing that you and I have talked about ad nauseum on this program, and we've gotten into every conceivable detail of this, and you're one of the world's greatest historians on it. It was the J6 pipe bomber. You mentioned that here, that Chris Wray ain't just gonna leave here's the piece of evidence. Here it is. Here's a piece of evidence, right? Here's the DNA. Here's the shoe, right? He's not gonna, there it is. It's sitting there on the desk. They're not gonna do that.
No.
But
they're not.
There was news last week that the J6 pipe bomber, that the January 6 documents have been turned over to Congress. You have a lot of sources, inside and outside of this DOJ, and in Congress. What are we going to get from this? Can you postulate what's going to happen here? And obviously, your friend Kash Patel has been very motivated to find out what happened with this J6 pipe bomber. He's spoken a lot about it.
I don't know. I mean, those records were put together over the past 4 years under Christopher Wray and Stephen D'Antuono, who is the Washington FBI field office head. And so we've talked about him. He was also head of the Detroit FBI field office during the Whitmer Fednapping. He's a Democratic operative. He has misled Congress. Will they bring charges against him for that? We don't know. But whatever records are there, that's what's there, right? So they can't manufacture truth, or they can't manufacture evidence that they never sought, or evidence that maybe was moved or destroyed. So there is possibly a chance that they might have to start the pipe bomb investigation from scratch. Why? Because we know now with testimony and records that it was in full force in January and February of 2021, the investigation into the pipe bomber, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. The focus that had been created and emphasized on finding that pipe bomber, all of a sudden, 6-8 weeks after January 6th, the FBI just kind of walked away from it. So why is that? The identity of was the person on the video even the pipe bomber? I mean, you and I have talked about the discrepancies in the timeline, certainly the discrepancies in the video that we see. Stephen D'Antuono misled Congress, said that one of the cell phone providers' data that they turned over was corrupted. The cell phone companies came back and said, none of our data is corrupted. If you want it, we'll give it to you. Was that person even the pipe bomber? Or was it someone or two individuals who maybe found the pipe bombs, or, was in the vicinity, especially at the DNC, acting very suspiciously right before the devices were found, that coincided with the first exterior breach and, of course, the joint session of Congress at 1:00. So they might have all the records. They might determine that they have to start from square one. We don't know. We should know soon, because we know that those records have been produced to Congress. So hopefully we'll find out something shortly. But that's just one angle of January 6th. The informants. We got a very lackluster report from DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz claiming, a few dozen FBI informants. We know that there were a lot more FBI assets and undercovers from other law enforcement agencies. So this is just scratching the surface of what they are going to be looking at, and what probably has been squirreled away in little dark corners of this massive 37,000 employee agency. So I think that cautioning people and asking for patience is appropriate, and reminding everyone of this formidable challenge that they all face at DOJ and FBI right now.
I just had to, Julie, touch on one more J6 pressure point that is quite remarkable given the news cycle that we are currently in with this Judge Boasberg, who miraculously, just like Juan Merchan, gets all the Trump cases. It's incredible. Like just one guy gets them all, right? There are hundreds of judges, thousands of judges, but just one pulls a lot. Got to go to the casino with these guys. Judge Boasberg is the guy who like let Ray Epps walk.
Yes.
Yo, that's crazy, Julie. And I mean, again, we have demonstrable video evidence that there is one single person who was actually fomenting a riot at the Capitol, and that is Ray Epps.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue if there's somebody who deserves to catch a case, it's the pipe bomber and Ray Epps, actually. And I wouldn't argue with that, in fact. And yet those are the two people who have been just disappeared, vanished, or were let off, with a slap on the wrist. Now, is this normal for Boasberg? Like, is this something that he normally did? Is this something that he would regularly do? Let off J6ers? What's going on with this?
No, in fact, Benny, I just posted, I think it was over the weekend, but I'm working on a piece, hopefully it will be on my Substack Declassified tomorrow, about Jeb Boasberg's belief. And he stated this in a 2022 sentencing hearing. He said there's a strong argument that everyone who was there that day on January 6th should go to jail. Everyone. And this man who was being sentenced was 68-year-old man from Pennsylvania, no criminal record, was inside the Capitol peacefully and pleaded guilty to the parading petty offense, one of the most common misdemeanors. And here was Jeb Boasberg in 2022 saying there's a strong argument all J6, not even J6ers, anyone who was there should go to jail. That means anyone who was there even outside the Capitol. But here he is crying tears, losing sleep over the fact that illegal Venezuelans tied to this very dangerous international criminal racket, TDA, that has been designated a foreign terrorist organization by the Trump administration, so concerned that they are going to be mistreated in an El Salvador prison. So once again, the double standard, you can't make it up. But Jeb Boasberg, through at least 55 J6ers, including those convicted of low-level misdemeanors in federal prison, right? This isn't going to the county jail. This isn't even going to, some white-collar prison camp. This is hard time, including for women who he sent to the Philadelphia, in one case, Philadelphia federal prison for legitimate criminals. Now, did he worry how this woman was going to be treated? No. But here is Jeb Boasberg continually saying in his orders and opinions and court hearings, gee, how are these Venezuelan illegals going to be treated in El Salvador? They're going to be tormented. They're going to be starved. They could be beaten. What did he think was going to happen to Trump supporters with no criminal records going to some of the most dangerous federal prisons in this country?
The banality of evil. The banality of evil. They actually want their fellow citizens to die. They view us as less than human. It's so awful. I mean, it's so truly. I mean, it's true. I don't. There's a lot of Americans that I think are wrecking the country. I don't like them at all. But as long as you're not convicted on a terrorism charge, I want you to live a peaceful, happy life. I don't wish a physical harm to you, because you're my fellow American. You're my countrymen. But these people do actually think that half the country are terrorists, and they wish ill on us. They treat them as less than human. It is a pathology. Okay, to that point, very quickly, Trump saying, "Yo, I'm going to relook into this Ashley Babbitt murder." Mm-hmm. He said this with Greg Kelly, your friend and mine, the other day on an interview. And he says this cop is a real piece of work. He left his handgun loaded in a bathroom stall inside of the visitor center with all the little kids in it. And Ashley Babbitt she's 5 feet tall, she was unarmed, and she was summarily murdered without cause, warning, and with the full celebration of the media. And then Nancy Pelosi awards Michael Byrd a promotion.
That's right.
What should happen next now that Trump's kind of interested in this?
I think they should reopen the investigation into Michael Byrd. Now, the Biden's DOJ claimed that they performed or opened a civil rights investigation into Michael Byrd. Now, of course, this is the same DOJ running around the country investigating police departments for violating civil rights of their citizens. But when it came to Michael Byrd, They immediately closed the investigation, said there was no evidence that he violated her civil rights, which of course he did, among other things. Michael Byrd, from other investigations and reporting, he has a long record of misconduct, both in uniform and out of uniform. And then, as you recall, Benny, his name was withheld from the media. The media was part of that cover-up for months, even though they knew his name, would not reveal it because of threats against him. Then he was protected, paid for, housed, hidden away at one of the military bases that we paid for because, again, of these threats. And then he got promoted. So I have to believe that the Civil Rights Division of this DOJ will reopen that investigation to the extent that there ever was one, and finally get some justice for Ashley Babbitt and her family.
Yeah, we checked. We're no lawyers, Julie, but we checked. And there's no statute of limitations on murder in cold blood. So
that's right.
Yeah, so that would be really nice. And Harmeet and Leo Terrell holding up that Civil Rights Division. That's going to be great.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's invite them on, shall we? And let's ask a couple questions. We can get this drum beat going, okay? Julie Kelly always giving us good ideas, whether it's cooking, okay, or whether it's how to like make sure that these criminals and murderers are cooked by our justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody follow Julie Kelly. And we expect you, Julie, to wear this shirt next time you're on the program, okay? If you don't wear this shirt next time you're on, you got to have it. We got to have verbal confirmation. Will you be wearing the shirt next time?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I promise. I can wear it tomorrow.
Make America blonde again.
I won't look as good as Caroline, but, well, for many reasons. But at any rate, I promise I'll be blonder next time.
What an interesting setup. Okay, all right. We love you, Julie. Nothing but hearts.
Love you
Julie.
back.
Godspeed.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we lock right in with the great Wesley Hunt, who has quite a bit of speaking of civil rights violations, has quite a bit to talk with us about. Let's go. Hello, Congressman. Good morning.
How are you, sir?
First, I try to calm myself down, right? Too much to get to. All right. Okay. So you're on the Judiciary Committee. This House Judiciary Committee has been looking into January 6th. We were just talking about this with Julie Kelly. Now, apparently, Cash has been turning over a lot of documents now, and you've been getting the FBI to actually work with you. Can you confirm that? And can you confirm that we can see potentially motion on some of these pressing issues, like who's the pipe bomber, and will there ever be any type of justice for Ashley Babbitt's murder?
Now, as you know, Benny, have to be very careful being on the House Judiciary Committee with the information that I share publicly before we actually have the hearing, and this goes through Jim Jordan. So obviously I have to kind of bite around the edges here. But here's what I will tell you, brother, and that is a reckoning is finally coming to this country for what happened during January 6th. And this is exactly why President Trump put Kash Patel in charge, is because the American people are due an explanation. How Ashley Babbitt was murdered, she's due an explanation. And I do think that there are going to be certain people, you're going to see some testimony that's going to come forward that's going to be contrary to the ridiculous narrative that the woke liberal left tried to sell to the American people for the past few years. And for the record, thank God the American people didn't buy that narrative, because that's why President Trump got reelected. This is the whole point of why President Trump won, because he wanted to put the right people in the right place to display as much truth to the American people that we haven't seen in decades. And so you're looking at some of the footage that was already released years ago, but if you notice, the media just kind of ignored it. Now it's going to come to the forefront yet again. You're going to see people be exonerated, and you're going to really see a lot of pushback on this narrative that everyone there on January 6th belongs in prison. You're going to see a lot of people that were released by President Trump when he initially took office, why they were justified to be released, why they should have never been behind bars in the first place. And this kind of transparency is what we need for this country to heal and move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it would. From your mouth to God's ears, that would be amazing. Where it gets the people going.
Yeah,
we wanted to. We would like to see that.
It's provocative.
It's provocative.
Provocative. No, it's not.
No, it's not. It would be it'd be really nice to know who this pipe bomber was.
Right.
Yeah, it shouldn't be provocative at all. But yeah, that's
it should be just.
I mean, you're gonna make yourself a Media Matters clip no matter what. So well done. And this one definitely will get you on the trackers list. We got you all queued up here, Congressman, because there was a clip that went viral this weekend of one of your colleagues who will be very angry very angry when she sees your Valentine's Day photos or your wedding photos. It's Jasmine Crockett. She's also going to be very angry when you do the January 6th hearings. Jasmine Crockett has come out against your colleague, Byron Donalds, and attacked him. And in the most vile and racist conceivable manner, saying skin folk ain't kinfolk. And saying that his wife whitewashed him. Saying that this is maybe why Byron Donalds isn't a Democrat. She said this on The Breakfast Club. And, of course, if you were to reverse these comments, then this individual will be kicked out of Congress. Somehow this is, I suppose, permissible. It shouldn't be. And more importantly, I think this just shows the obscene levels of racism that is tolerable on the Democrat side of the dais. Just want to open up the floor for your comments on this.
Our former vice president, and I do mean former vice president, was married to a white man. The latest Supreme Court justice she's a black woman that's married to a white man. The former White House press secretary is a black woman that has a white partner. Ilhan Omar is with a white man. AOC is with a white man. This hypocrisy is disgusting. People like her are the reason why I am a Republican, because I am sick and tired of the race bait. You fall in love with who you fall in love with. We have come a long way in this country, and the fact that she is continuing this narrative just shows she's just a bitter woman that's trying to continue to divide this country. Byron Donalds and I are where we are because of our merit and who we are, and through hard work and determination. Who we choose to marry, it's our business. Whatever their race, religion, color, or creed is, that's our business. It doesn't make us less black. It doesn't make my wife more white or less black, depending on who she married. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm so glad the American public are seeing. We aren't the party of race. We aren't the party of division. We are the party that wants our country back and wants to reward a meritocracy. And so this is the kind of narrative that they continue to put out. It's based on her logic. Every single black person should be a Democrat. All of them. We live in a two-party system, and every single black is the exact same, and we should all agree, and we should all be a part of the exact same party. And for her, the definition of black excellence is you're only excellent and you're only black if you're a Democrat. Well, that's utterly ridiculous. And we need good people of color, white people, black people, you name it, on both sides of the dais, so we can continue to get better and grow and share each other's heritages as a country and do it together and not divide us. I hope that Jazz keeps on talking, because the more she talks, the lower the ratings go for the Democrat Party. And the more that she talks, the better off it is for us as Republican Party going into the midterms. I pray that she continues to lead this party.
If you take what she's saying to its natural conclusion, what she's saying is that there should be only Asians marrying Asians, white people marrying white people, and black people marrying black people. That's what she's saying.
That's exactly what she is saying. And I'm going to tell you something, Benny. I recognize that there was a time in this country that was very rough. Keep in mind, my parents are 75 years old. My mom's almost 75. Don't tell her that. She's almost 75 years old. She grew up during the civil rights movement. My parents never went to middle school, elementary school, middle school, high school, or college, because they went to a historically black college, Southern University in Baton Rouge, for their entire lives. Yet their children spent their lives and spent most of their schooling amongst white people, because that's how far we've come in a very shortened period of time. I recognize the ills of the past, but look at where we are now.
Right.
The America that we live in today is not the America of the 50s and 60s.
Right, but she I mean, I guess I'm trying to get at the untenable question here, which is, are Democrats for racial quotas and bringing back Jim Crow restrictions on marriage? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, so the logical conclusion here is that Jasmine Crockett says only blacks can only marry blacks.
Right.
Is that's now the defendable position of the Democrat Party?
Well, that's her defendable position. That's exactly the essence of what she is saying. No matter what race you are, you have to marry within your race. But here's the irony of this whole conversation, brother, and that is they would say that the Republicans are the ones that don't want interracial marriage anymore. No. It is them. It's comments like this. I have yet to hear a Republican, a MAGA Republican, tell me anything other than, Wesley, you have a beautiful family. Oh my gosh. I love that the fact that you love each other regardless of where you look like. Two different backgrounds. My wife is from a small town in Iowa. I'm from a big city in Houston. Yet we share similar values. We don't care what we look like. That's the Republican Party now. You are absolutely right. It's the Democrats that are trying to continue to divide us along racial lines. But wait for it, as long as you're a Republican. Because if you're a Democrat, then it's okay. And they excuse the fact that you're in an interracial relationship. And that's why I brought up the examples in the very beginning. So it's okay for Kamala Harris to be married to a white man, but not okay for Byron Donalds and Wesley Hunt to be married to a white woman. And why is that? Because we're Republicans and now we're the ones who are whitewashed. What a foolish comment.
I mean, are you allowed, if Ilhan Omar marries her brother, is that allowable?
Like, this is
the question for Jasmine.
You're so great. You're
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
These are big moral questions, and I'd love for Jazz to answer. I know it's a Jazz. Okay, so Jazz didn't like answering questions. She hit a reporter last week. She, lashed out, like World Star, right? World Star clip. Grabbed a World Star. World is a World Star clip, right?
Yeah.
She grabs a phone. I mean, bro, if you did this, if Marjorie Taylor Greene did this, then she'd be kicked out of Congress, okay? Like, if she did this to CBS News, she'd be kicked out of Congress. And we all know it, right? If Marjorie Taylor Greene said only white people can only marry white people, she'd be kicked out of Congress, right? Yeah. Like, so why is it permissible? Like, why is this allowed? Would you be in favor of, like, either a censure or do Republicans just like this being the face of the Democrat Party?
Oh, well, of course I would be in favor of it. But see, let me get back on to how this whole thing started. It's always been rules for thee and not for me with these people. Do you remember when everyone in the entire country was locked down because of COVID? We couldn't go outside and surf in the Pacific Ocean. We couldn't go run outside. We had to show our papers to walk into any restaurant. But if you stood up to go to the bathroom, you had to have your mask on. If you sat down, you could take your mask off. You remember these moments in these days where people couldn't even go get their nails done or get their hair done? But yet we see Nancy Pelosi getting her hair done while the entire country has to be locked down. It is rules for thee and not for me. It's the exact same thing with what you just saw. I could never get away with behaving like that. I could never get away with treating a reporter like that. But the media carries water for them. And this is why shows like yours and what you do every day to elucidate the American public. I'm talking about the real freedom fighters and the real patriots that have completely turned the TV off because they want the truth. The fact that you're talking this is the reason why legacy media is dead, because they are carrying the water for Democrats that do not want to follow the rules because the rules do not apply to them. This goes to interracial marriage. This goes to COVID. This goes to how they behave on the House floor with Congressman Green acting like a complete clown when President Trump was talking. It's always rules for thee and not for me. So again, the hypocrisy that we continue to see is nauseating to most of us. And while the legacy media won't talk about it, we're going to talk about it on your show. And millions of people are going to see it. And I pray they continue to behave like this as they go into the midterms.
I want to thank you for bringing up Al Green. I almost forgot.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
And the pimp cane. And I don't think that's racist at all because they're white pimps.
They're right.
Every mean pimp cane is racist. They're not racist at all.
They're all white
Stop
pimps.
Stop going after. Yeah, you got to stop it. Okay, stop it. All right, let's talk about a white pimp, Pete Hegseth. So Pete Hegseth is in charge, and I'm not sure. I think you guys served at the same time, and you both are skull cracking alphas. And boy, he made a lot of news this morning, posting this. He says, for far too long, standards have slipped. We have different standards for men and women serving in combat arms, but this is not acceptable. We are now going to have the same standards for men and women if you wish to be in combat in the American military. Do you agree?
You see this smile on my face.
I do.
This is exactly why Pete Hegseth is our Secretary of Defense. And this is the kind of very simple, basic standards that we grew up with. This is the Army that we grew up with in the early 2000s to get to where we are today. It's just one standard. At the time we were coming up, how many push-ups, sit-ups, 2-mile run? If you can meet the standard of everyone else, then guess what? You got to move on. You got to do certain things depending on the standard in which you were met, in which you met. And the cool thing about it is this, look, there's a difference between men and women. Now, our party can say that and admit that. I know the Democrats have a hard time identifying the difference between a man and a woman. But if you're a woman and you want to go to combat, guess what? You have to be able to behave at the same standard as a man. Now, does that mean that there are some exceptions to this policy and there are certain women that are complete badasses that can do it? I know some of them. There were some women at West Point that can run circles around me. You know what? Come on in if you can meet the standard. But if you cannot, this is not about DEI. This is not about quota. This is about standards. If you meet the standard, then you can serve in combat. It is just that simple. This reminds me of being in the White House a couple of weeks ago when President Trump signed the executive order to not allow grown-ass men to compete against women. And President Trump said this. He goes, I can't believe I'm signing this executive order. This seems like common sense to me. This is utterly ridiculous. This is kind of the similar thing that I'm saying. It's like the left is going to try to make this out to say that Pete Hegseth, he hates women and he doesn't want people in the military. No. This is just common sense. If you can't drag a body off of a combat field, then you shouldn't be in the combat field. And by the way, that goes for dudes who can't do it either. There is one core, there is one standard. That's all that matters. And we want brave young people to continue to serve this country that are hell-bent on meeting said standard. I applaud Pete for doing what he did today.
Yeah, bro, I've watched enough women's UFC to know that there are plenty of women out there that can legitimately kick my ass.
100%.
I get it, right? Like, it's like there's some straight-up brawlers.
Yes.
All I'm trying, you make such a great point. It actually is a threat to American security to not have somebody who can assist in a combat role. And you've flown, I don't know, how many combat missions have you flown? Like,
I flew 55 in Baghdad. Yep, flew for 8 years in the military.
Bro, you got to be able, you got to make sure that somebody has your six, right? Like that the people who are flying with you can actually get it done.
And I will tell you, in my unit when I was deployed in Baghdad, the person that had the highest kill count in my platoon was a woman.
That doesn't surprise me. I've met women. That doesn't surprise me.
Great pilot.
I've met some angry women. Okay, yeah. You get the right woman with a gun. I mean, you're cooked, right?
Okay, and I didn't mind flying with her. I didn't mind flying on. She had our six. So fine by me. She's out here killing bad guys like me. I'll take it.
Something before we wrap up here, something I haven't asked you that I've wanted to. What the hell happened with that helicopter, with that Blackout helicopter that crashed in DC? There's an investigation ongoing into that, but I'm sure that has a particular interest to you. I know it's something that we haven't talked about in a while, but we haven't gotten a chance to chat about it.
It most certainly did. And great question. And as a helicopter pilot that has flown under those conditions and Class C airspace around airports, I got to tell you, I mean, I obviously took a personal interest to me. And first of all, God bless those that perished in that horrible accident. And look, the investigation is still pending, so I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is being a pilot and understanding that it looks a lot like it was just pilot error. And that's it. And that happens a a lot. It happens often. And given the unfortunate circumstances, it was just a perfect storm that caused a horrible tragedy. And the one thing that I do love about Army aviation is that there's always an after action review. We always take a look at accidents like this, and there's a safety team that compiles all the accidents that happened in the previous year, and they go from unit to unit to unit. And there is a secret presentation to each unit that actually has the black box data. They mapped out exactly what happened, and then we learn from these mistakes, and they go to every unit around the country and talk about this accident. And so the issue is this is a once in a trillion situation. How many thousands, millions of flights have we had with Army aircraft flying around a civilian airfield and nothing has happened? I mean, I was in Fort Rucker, Alabama when I was training. There's thousands of flights, and this never happened. But the issue is this. It can't ever happen again. Let's learn from those mistakes. Let's eliminate pilot error, and let's get back to business. And the most important thing that we have to do is fly and fly safely.
Okay. Well, at least Jasmine Crockett will be happy that it's called a black box. At least we'll have, Congressman, at least we'll have that, all right? I swear to God, if you put a white box, I swear to God, if you put a white box on that airplane.
White box, it didn't work. It doesn't work.
You put that's right.
They don't
work.
My
gosh. Yeah. You put a white box on that plane. That is not skin folk. Her words, not me. Her words, not mine. My God. Skin folk are kin folk. Final trick. Just a little help for you, Congressman, in case you are ever, I know that you serve with Jasmine on multiple committees. If you ever need to trigger her, if you ever need to win an argument with her, I have a photo for you. Just carry this, fold it up in your pocket. There you go. If you ever got a trigger, this one's really special. The mask one, please. Thank you. There you go. This is the one. This is the one. If you ever need to send her.
See, Benny, you're messing up, okay? Because now next time I'm going to have this blown up in a hearing sitting right behind me the next time. And I'll be talking about January 6th something, but I'm just going to have that in the background just for reference.
If you ever need to trigger her, Jazzy, if you ever need to trigger her, dude's as white as his mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah. White as fresh fallen snow. And I tell you,
that's right.
No problem with that, but she has a problem with my wife. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's personal. It's personal around here.
Clearly,
you have a beautiful family, Congressman. We say thank you for always being
so
on the show.
And
I was laughing on the show.
So
I know that we can one of the few guys we can actually laugh with, and so we're thankful for that. And, you'll take the joke, and you'll be like,
come on, you can't take yourself too seriously in this world, man. I'm happy. God has blessed us tremendously. We got to enjoy it, brother.
Yo, ain't that the truth? 334,000 Americans already follow. Great Congressman, you be one of them. Go on in there. Fight for somebody who's fought for us on the battlefield and now in Congress. Godspeed, Congressman.
Thank you, brother. You have a great day, buddy.
Ooh, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, we're cooking today. We got 4 guests, and our 4th guest is just an absolute barn burner and running for Congress here in the great state of Florida in a special election that happens tomorrow. And so lock in. You know what I mean? It's also a great company here out of the state of Florida that we are all trying to help defend this great state, and that is Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee, you hear us talk about them regularly on the program. They fill our cup. It's a completely empty cup this morning. Well, because we had house guests this weekend. We had 1 million kids running through the house all weekend. It was rowdy. Blackout Coffee helps us put a pep in our step, get ready for the stream in the morning. It is damn good coffee. It emphasizes hard work and grit and the Florida way. It's made here in Florida. It's the American dream, quite frankly. I was able to speak to the owner of Blackout Coffee just a little bit ago. Started in a home garage, roasting small batches, and now they have a 64,000 square foot facility run by a team of hardworking Americans. Make sure that you're helping employ those Americans. Jump on, ladies and gentlemen, to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Get 20% off your first order and support the American dream, drinking Blackout Coffee. Premium, small batch, roasted coffee made right here in America, right here in this great state. Ladies and gentlemen, get yourself a coffee company that stands for something. All right, standing for something, ladies and gentlemen, is what our next guest is doing. Jimmy Patronis is locked and loaded to win the 1st congressional district here in Florida. He's also formerly the chief financial officer for the state of Florida. We're proud to have him on the program for the first time. Welcome, Jimmy. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Petronas we just got the black screen of death. It happens sometimes. It happens sometimes. Not sure. Jasmine Crockett, big fan of that screen. Don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna effort Jimmy coming on back on the program. It looks like the team is doing their best to get him back. So just let me know. Let me know, boys. There we go, Jimmy. The black screen of death. Oh no, that's all right, man. This is we're going live, man. We're letting it rip, and you are doing the same thing. You are going to win tomorrow. Tell me about the race.
No, I appreciate it. Look, I'm so excited about tomorrow. President Trump has just been really it's been so exciting. He called me back and over and said, Jimmy, if you'll run, I'll endorse you. And now, I'm going to get a chance to take my family and be a part of history, to make this country great again, to get in the trenches, to fight what is right. And you know what? It's just an honor, a real honor to be on the air with you today. So thank you for having me.
Okay, so you have a district called the Redneck Riviera. You have a district that's beloved. It is a conservative district, recently represented by Matt Gaetz, who was a bit of a bomb thrower in Congress. What's your plan in Congress if you win your election tomorrow?
Well, look, I tell folks, look, I love Matt. We served together in the state legislature, but I'm a workhorse. This is what Jimmy has done every time I've been in the process, and I grind. I'm the guy that shows up an hour before the meeting starts, and I'm there an hour after the meeting's over. So you'll see me burning the midnight oil, trying to make a difference, hoping to make sure that we put everything first and foremost to take advantage of the president's administration to do right by our country.
Fantastic. And you have the Trump endorsement. We're going to pop it up on screen right now. The full endorsement. It's obviously a very important seat, and the House balance hangs by just a thread. What are you going to work on when you get to Washington, D.C.? We have full confidence that you are going to win. We know this district well. My wife and I are there semi-regularly. The Panhandle is just like truly God's country in this state. What are you excited to work on in Congress, Jimmy?
So Northwest Florida is known for its military presence, 5 installations, a massive military economy, but not just a military economy. It's also where, just like we're talking fondly about the area, these men and women serve all over the world, and then they decide to call somewhere home. And to me, the most flattering compliment they can give is when they decide to call the state of Florida home after they've lived everywhere, after they've served our country. And we have got the highest density per capita in Northwest Florida of anywhere in the country. We take care of our veterans. We take care of our military because they have taken care of us. So again, military issues will be first and foremost.
Fantastic. And that's exactly right. And a lot of military bases, some of the largest, is it the largest Air Force base? Like one of them, like there.
Correct. Eglon's the largest in square miles. It sure is. Home of the schoolhouse for the F-35s.
There we go, baby. So you were the chief financial officer for the state of Florida. I just want to say thank you, because this is a well-managed state, and it's also a state that is booming in profitability and in the balance sheets. I know that property taxes are a local thing, but we're proud to be a taxpayer here in the state of Florida. We're proud to have our business operate out of the state of Florida. We know that the finances are being properly managed. Not so when you get to DC, Jimmy. You gotta have a little different problem up there.
So I tell people, look, I've been a public servant for a while, but I've come to the conclusion when I first got the job, I always said the people of Florida spend their money better than Tallahassee does. And that's the exact same attitude I'm going to have when I go to Washington, D.C. The state of Florida, this is right now, this time in the state, we're in the best fiscal health we've ever been in the history of the state. I tell people, it's not a sprint, it's a march. You have to work on it every single day. Last year, 400,000 new net Floridians came to the state of Florida. They brought about $39 billion of recurring wealth with them. That's their businesses, their retirement funds, their investments. So what we're getting are what we want. They're the good folks from all over the country that are fed up paying their taxes into governments that don't listen to them and don't respect them.
Yeah. You going to work with Doge when you're up in D.C.?
I do. I want to. I'm so excited about Doge. I mean, and people are freaking out. And so one thing that I've always been a champion of is transparency. Look, if everything's transparent, then the public gets to see what's going on. Just put it out in the public domain. So again, those that are blowing up because of Doge, you know what? It's going to allow the public to really question. And then you know what? You're up to stand to and defend these expenditures. So yeah, Doge is cool in my book.
All right. Well, we look forward to that. We need to use all the help we can get. Jimmy, final word, final message out here to the Republicans, Democrats, Independents in your district. The message 24 hours before Election Day.
Thank you. So, look, this opportunity is fleeting. Time is the most valuable thing we have in our lives. I've got two boys. I got a 14 and a 16-year-old. They're the apple of my eye. And I would not have done this endeavor if it wasn't for their permission, my wife's permission, or God's guidance. President Trump's endorsement helped too. But you know what? The opportunity to take our country back is something that I'm looking forward to. But we can't do it without your help. I'm getting outspent 7-1. If you'll please go visit joinjimmy.com. At the top of the page, you'll see a link that says find your precinct. Right now, I've spent every dollar I'm going to be able to spend. My opponent has spent every dollar she's going to be able to spend. But now's where the rubber meets the road, and those votes will make a difference. My DMs are open on X. You can find me at Jimmy Petronas. I'd love a follow, but more important, I'd love your engagement. I like to respond to my emails, jimmy@joinjimmy.com. And Benny, God bless you. Thank you for having me. This has been a real honor.
That's great. Your DMs are open. I mean, expect plenty of meme coins sent your way.
That's okay.
It's a rowdy world to have your DMs open on X, I got to tell you. But Jimmy, Godspeed, man. We can use all the help that we can get. And you've made the state of Florida proud. We are very happy to support you from down here in Tampa. Godspeed, sir.
Take care.
Yo, can't bounce without this crazy, crazy story from one of our girls down here in Tampa, actually. It's Anna Luna, who made huge news. Right, and the worst time to make news, honestly, Friday night. Don't ever go make news on Friday night. Come on, give us a little bit of a runway here. She goes on Fox as the 9 p.m. hour, and she says, "Oh, by the way, Lee Harvey Oswald was just riding in the limousine with JFK." Lee Harvey Oswald. NBC has footage of Lee Harvey Oswald just standing around during the JFK assassination. My goodness, what does this mean? Well, of course, this obviously means that there's physical hard evidence of the conspiracy theory here. And that the government has been lying to us and been working with owned and operated media in order to hide and conceal evidence for the better part of the last 60 years. A Republican representative claimed that NBC is holding a videotape that proves Lee Harvey Oswald did not assassinate JFK. Anna Luna, Republican of Florida, made the bold claims while appearing on Fox News alongside host Jesse Waters. On Friday night, Luna had been talking about a recent release of the 80,000 pages of new material in the National Archives, JFK assassination. Waters had questioned Luna over whether she believes that all the documents have been released. She replied, "We're in the process of tracking down two specific documents. I want to tell the American people that NBC has never before seen footage." And then she said this. Here we go.
He said because of these new releases, it's conclusive that the CIA was running Oswald, running him. And he also said that he doesn't think all of the documents have been released. Is that your understanding too?
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of tracking down two specific documents. And also, too, Jesse, I would like to actually tell the American people, it was made aware to me this evening that NBC actually has a video that's never been seen before. We're actually going to be sending a letter requesting that from NBC because it allegedly shows Oswald near the vehicle when the assassination took place, which means that he couldn't have been the shooter. So, again, we're tracking down all this information. But look, there's even a CIA document that came out
that Mr. Morley pointed out that actually said that the CIA never bought the lone gunman theory. And so I think the American people had an inclination as to what we were saying, but we never had the hard evidence until now. And so it's important to note that in a free and fair society, how could you operate or have an agency operating in the shadows? And so kudos to President Trump, also Director Radcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard for pushing for this transparency. It is going to be generational changing that they've done this, and we hope to bring forward legislation to ensure that this never happens again for future generations to come.
You're saying NBC has been keeping this tape of Oswald under wraps?
Correct. In fact, Director Stone actually told us that he was showed this tape, that it was a secondary copy, and that he said that this could blow open the entire JFK investigation. What I will also tell you, though, Jesse, is he said that NBC has been very, very much so guarding this tape. And so I believe that that tape belongs to the American people. We are going to be sending a letter asking for that tape. And I would encourage everyone to ask NBC to release that tape to the public. It's important, not just for our investigations, but so the American people know the truth as to what happened with John F. Kennedy.
Man, we live in wild times. It's crazy. Kind of an insane timeline are we like living in? Okay, so there's like an entire, so we found the Ark of the Covenant. There's an entire secret world underneath the pyramids in Giza. And now we have footage of Lee Harvey Oswald smoking a cigarette while JFK gets his head blown off. Got it. Great. I mean, what's next? You know what they're going to do. Next is going to be the alien invasion. You know what they're going to do. You know what's going to happen next. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going to happen next is you could win a Tesla. We're just going to give away a Tesla because we want to stand with our boy Elon. How to enter. Go subscribe, and then the end. Just give us your email and you enter. That's it. The end. If you want to lock in, get a Tesla, hand delivered by us. We're just doing our part out here, right? And so this is what we're going to do. They're pretty dope cars, and you should have one. And we'll be happy to pay for it and drive it to you. It's going to be an exciting time, and we are locked in with our verse of the day from Hebrews. Love the book of Hebrews. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. Hebrews 1:11. What are your hopes? Like, what do you actually ask God for every single day? Like, it's a thread as I'm just like a simple Christian, right? And so I just read the Bible just like most people. You go through the Bible, there's like this common thread where it's like you need to ask and then receive. So what are you asking for exactly? What are you hoping for according to this verse? Like, what is that exactly? What is that? And if you only ask for things from like time to time and they're like miracles, right? Like my child's sick. Well, that's been me. Well, that's fine, but like, aren't you missing out? In fact, I'll relay to you precisely what I ask for every single prayer and every single day. I ask for wisdom for this program. It's growing very quickly. We have these awesome guests on, and we have a lot. It's like it's something that's we try so hard at, and we don't want to waste our moment. We don't want to do bad information. We want to be wise, and we want to be sharp. And so that's something that I ask for. That's something that in the scriptures Paul actually talks about how you can ask for wisdom as a gift, right? And Solomon does as well. So it's not like I need to be smarter than anyone else. I think I have quite a few IQ points down on some of the bigger, some of the other people in this profession. I understand that, and we went to community college. But when it comes to managing my, being like with our, a father to my children, like an employer, somebody who does this every single day, I want wisdom. I want to be able to like make smart decisions, not let people down and to lift people up. So that's what I ask for. What are you hoping for, ladies and gentlemen? What are you hoping for? And ask for it. And we serve a wonderful God. It's your boy Benny. March with us on to victory. We'll see ya.
At Stardate 42069, I have once again declared that there are only two genders, but I have made some changes. The women who are smarter than the men can now say anything they want, but they are only limited to 280 words per day. And for the men, pee is now stored in the balls. Trump Borg out.
It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.